Welcome to HR After Dark, where we solve the people problems that are keeping you up at night. With your host, Kayla Williams. Good afternoon and welcome back to HR After Dark, where we are solving the people problems that keep you up at night. Today, we are going to talk about company culture and how that may or may not be affecting your business. I want to dive right in. There's a lot to cover on this topic. This may even wind up being an episode where we come back, do a follow-up with one of our HR consultants so that you guys can meet some of them. Let's go ahead and jump right in here. So what is company culture? Company culture is it's a shared set of workplace beliefs, values, attitudes, standards, purposes, behaviors. It reflects both the written and the unwritten rules that people in the organization are going to follow. Your organization's culture really is the sum of all that you and your colleagues think, say, and do as you work together. Surveys done over the past few years by various entities have shown upwards of 94% agree, and these are business owners, entrepreneurs, agree that culture is directly related to the organization's success. And then included in that survey, upwards of, it was either 60 or 63% said that it is very important or essential to their business. So 94 that it is directly related, and then 60 to 63 said it is very important or essential. And that 60 to 63% of the remaining respondents. So what are some examples of company culture? Culture really, it could include 1,000 little things and some big ones as well. From the way that work assignments are handed out to how different departments and teams get along, whether or not birthdays are celebrated in your workplace, your dress. So, maybe you have a casual dress around your office and whether or not that's okay and how casual it is, whether or not your employees prefer to work collaboratively or work alone. And then there's some of the bigger things, such as whether or not there's pressure to work whenever you're sick, or whether you can even have FaceTime with an executive at your workplace. All of this is a part of your company culture and what you put out there. It reminds me of a saying, and I cannot remember who told me this. I don't know if it's a famous quote or not. I should probably research it because I tell people this all the time. We train people how to treat us, right? Now, we're not going to dig into that on a personal level. In a workplace environment, this is what I'm talking about. We train people how to treat us and how to treat others within our organization, right? And sometimes that's intentional and sometimes it's not. That's why developing and implementing and continuing to progress your company culture is so incredibly important because, you might be, say we're speaking of a CEO right now. And if that CEO has kind of trained the employees to know that, they really don't like work calls, we'll say after 3 p.m., right? That trickles down the tree. And you might start noticing that other employees within your organization start kind of setting those same boundaries. Why? Because you've told them, and boundaries are good, guys. Remember, boundaries are good, but you've taught them, hey, this is okay. So your company culture is, if you want to put it down to kind of a base level, is really what you show, you teach, you lead by example of what is okay and not okay in your organization. Some elements of company culture are easier than others to shape or guide, and that's really, it's okay. Fostering a vibrant culture doesn't require having complete control of it. Having complete control over your company culture is a really unrealistic expectation because we all have our own personalities and belief systems that play into our everyday lives at work. It's really just about creating an environment where people can thrive and do their best. Now, as I've gone over kind of what company culture is, I really want to cover for just a second what exactly it's not. So people often associate company culture with kind of like a superficial perk almost. maybe you have a coffee bar set up, and so they see that culture as we always have free coffee. Or maybe you have a video game or a TV set up in your break room, and it can get a little confused because they can associate that with your company culture. But those are not the things that define it. It might be a way that we express welcome, and that might help us to shape a culture of maybe more lax, casual culture. But it's not the culture itself. So it's important to note that not every workplace is going to have the same culture. I would actually venture to say that really no two cultures are alike. You might find similarity amongst various companies, but every company culture is different because it is a result of plethora of factors, including your organization's mission, values, leadership, your goals, even your obstacles, the industry that you work within, and your position in the marketplace. So every organization develops a company culture, whether they realize it or not. And that's where we come into the intentionality of building our company culture. Because if you're not doing it intentionally, you're doing it unintentionally. So we're going to talk about how company culture helps achieve business goals. When you have and I'm going to get into later in this episode, I say later, like these are an hour long. We all know they're not, but I'm going to get into here in just a few, how you can help, build it. But I want to emphasize a little bit more why it's so important for your company culture and how that plays into achieving your goals. So having a strong company culture that treats employees right can do a lot more than, just making you feel good and saying, hey, I treat my employees right. A great culture helps to foster enduring benefits that strengthen your organization and improve the bottom line. So these benefits include a greater interest from top talent. Having recruiting issues, look at your company culture. What are you putting out there? What is the culture that you're presenting to talent? Improving morale. And this is, whether you're a remote company or a physical company, brick and mortar, it can help to improve morale, higher productivity, increased revenue and profits, improved customer experience and satisfaction, reduced turnover and associated recruiting and training costs with that, and of course, increased engagement. So those are just what I guess I want to call them the highlights, the benefits whenever you really focus on and intentionally build your company culture. Because when employees enjoy their jobs, they strive to improve their work and their workplace. So moving into a few different types of company culture. Research in the Harvard Business Review has identified 8 distinct culture styles. And we're not going to go deep into these, but just to give an overview, we have number 1, caring, collaborative, and supportive. Number 2, purposeful, idealistic, and altruistic. Number 3, learning, inventive, and innovative. Number 4, enjoyable, fun, and stimulating. Number 5, results-oriented, driven by achievement and winning. Number 6, authoritative, competitive, and controlling. Number 7, safe, predictable, and risk-averse. And number 8, orderly, methodical, and cooperative. So according to the Harvard Business Review, every organization has some combination of these styles. So I'm not saying that just one of these fits, and it might even be 2, 3, 4, some combination of these styles. And yours may only have a few, or it may have most of them or all of them. It really just varies. But none of these styles are better than the others. They're just different. They're different from each other. Each style has potential advantages and disadvantages. And so your company culture can really be defined by how prominent each of these styles is in your organization. So you can determine which cultural styles appear in your organization a few different ways. So you can gather feedback from executives, managers, and employees with surveys during performance reviews. we've seen a lot of organizations do this. I would like to add in a little tidbit that you tend to get more honest and open feedback whenever there's an option to remain anonymous. Another way you can find out, observe the ways that people think and behave. Now, this is clearly not for our remote employers, but just observing those behaviors within the office can go a long way into identifying your culture. Analyze which kinds of culture initiatives are undertaken or avoided, and whether they align with your organization's values and goals. You can also follow the money. See which culture initiatives get more and less financial support. And then, of course, you can always evaluate the success or failure of each culture initiative. And we'll kind of talk about that as we go on. Now, I told you before, no culture is better than the other, but we are going to discuss what a great company culture looks like. Because even though company culture can't be copied, you can learn a lot about developing and maintaining a great culture from other examples. Organizations with a truly great culture don't all look alike, and they may have a different mix of the 8 culture and styles, but they often share one key characteristic: a belief in truly looking out for their employees and who is with the company. So what does that look like? Encouraging diversity. Organizations with great cultures hire different types of people who can add new perspectives, skills, and instead, of people who are all alike, all on the same thought train. Helping new hires feel welcome from the beginning of their onboarding. Organizations need to provide tools, training, and guidance to their new hires as they settle in and make sure that they have everything they need to do the best work they can do. Engaging your employees. They promote performance, growth, and loyalty by providing meaningful learning opportunities and appealing career paths, including everyone. They make sure that every employee is heard, valued, and respected, recognizing and rewarding. They regularly provide feedback and sincere appreciation. And I want to add on to this one. Your employees, when they go for their evaluation, for their employee evaluations, which you should be doing annually, I can feel some of you rolling your eyes, but that's okay. But when you reach your evaluation, that employee should have absolutely no surprises. What that means is that you should have a continuous improvement plan in place. And throughout the year, weekly, monthly, however, your employees should be getting that continuous feedback. If there's a problem, it needs to be addressed immediately. If they've done something great, address it immediately. Recognize and reward. Because I'm telling you, most employees, I'm not ever going to say all, but most employees, if they get to that annual evaluation or review, and you're bringing up stuff that was 8, 9 months ago, heck, even 2 months ago, they're going to wonder why it hasn't been brought to their attention before so that they can fix the problem, so that they're not actually getting in trouble for it. But they have also now seen that that is your company culture. Your culture is not to give continuous feedback and to help people grow within the company, to help employees do the best work that they can do. Your culture is to hold on to every little mistake and then come at them. So I just wanted to put that in there as we, continue forward. And then my last little tidbit on what a great company culture looks like would be preparing for the future. They proactively adapt to their employees' evolving needs and interests. And this really sustains each individual's success. So implementing these cultural best practices will definitely put you on your way towards making your organization a great place to work for you and your employees. Take down those retention rates. As we've gone through these scenarios, as we've gone through these tips on what it is, what it isn't, how to make that great company culture, hopefully you can start to see how it rolls into the benefits that we listed off earlier. Now, we do have to address who is responsible for your company culture. I would love to see some hands right now. I know you're listening to me probably on your way to work, from work, however, and I would just love to see the hands right now on who thinks that the employees are responsible. Maybe HR. You think HR is responsible. The CEO or the COO. I'm not sure who you believe is responsible for the company culture, but those of you who are shaking your heads and saying everyone's responsible, you would be right. Everyone in your organization plays a part in developing, maintaining a great company culture. The executives, they go forth with the initiatives that shape it, and the middle managers put those initiatives into action. The employees strengthen it. They strengthen it by supporting those ideals. And so continuing forward, I believe it was Bamboo HR who did a study that said 38% of those surveyed said HR's role in creating or building their company culture should be greater than it currently is. And we do want to shine the spotlight on HR professionals. We love our consultants, and they do a wonderful job at directing and guiding our organizations that work with us, our clients whom we love. They do a wonderful job at guiding and directing them towards building their company culture. And in all honesty, if you do have an HR employee on your staff, there's a lot of the times when they're the ones quietly doing much of the heavy lifting that keeps company culture and values moving forward. I mean, they're responsible for a lot of the employee benefits. A lot of the most of them will even manage or help to manage internal events that are going on for employees. We're talking payroll, a little bit of everything. HR is really the company's greatest advocate of values just because of their unique position within the company. It has a great impact on it. That being said, I am incredibly thankful to our HR consultants here who not only help us keep our company culture in line, but they also continue to change and evolve it for what it needs to be. It's a wonderful thing to see. Moving forward into a little more of everyone's responsibility for your company's culture. As leaders, this is specifically looking at your executive level. And as leaders and decision makers establish an organization's values and mission, they need to take an active role in making sure that the company culture continues to benefit their organization and raise red flags if it doesn't. I'm going to say this, and I'm probably going to repeat it a few times throughout the rest of this episode. Company culture can only thrive when top leadership accepts responsibility for it. If your leadership is unresponsive, if your leadership team boasts having an open door policy, but really we all know it's a closed door, how do you think that's going to trickle down? If your executives are closed door, that is the culture that is going to trickle all the way down to the bottom. It goes to the managers or directors, however your organization is set up, and then it trickles all the way down to the employees. Why? Because you said that's okay. Executives, they shape company culture both by speaking to employees about it and by the attitudes and behaviors they display at work. It reminds me of Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. Now, going into our middle managers, they're on the front lines. They're on the front lines of your organization. They're in close contact with both the executives they report to and the employees that they supervise. And that makes them an invaluable resource for improving communication about company culture and values. The managers are really our doers and our fixers, and they can administer culture initiatives and keep an eye out for culture problems and help solve them. They're really good. You should utilize your managers to solicit feedback from employees and help employees, stay focused on the organization's policies and values and goals. Now, moving on to your employees, because I think there's a big disconnect here. A lot of organizations that I personally have worked with have said or stated in some sort of way that they really didn't realize how important the employees were to the company culture. Or they believe that the company culture was, you ask them what their culture is and they want to read you their mission and their values. When in all reality, your company culture should be obvious, right? So you have a list of values. Maybe you have a list of values on the website and you say, our organization values teamwork and honesty, respect of our clients. It's great to read. It truly is. I'm not saying take it off your website, but are you exemplifying that? If someone works with your company and you ask that client, do you think you could give us some feedback? What do you think our values are here at such and such organization? Listen to what they say, because that's going to give you exactly what you are putting out. So getting back on track, employees, no matter what kind of work they do in your organization, they are responsible for company culture too. As they do their jobs and collaborate with teammates, employees need to support the company values and goals that align with their behaviors accordingly. Attitude has a lot to do with it. If employees feel good about where they work and find their jobs meaningful and believe in the organization's future, they're likely to project a positive can-do attitude that reinforces and strengthens company culture. Leaders are responsible for providing a nurturing environment and consistent guiding principles. Employees are responsible for supporting them. As you define your vision of improving company culture, listen to the employees' unique perspectives. Talk to them, survey them often, and take their feedback seriously, even if it's not what you want to hear. It can be rough. When developing or changing your company culture, it can be rough. But they usually have a good idea of where your workplace culture currently stands, and they know when there's a misfire. Sooner or later, just about every organization has to deal with a few dissatisfied employees who can really damage their company culture if left unchecked. And I wanted to kind of put that in there because it's just the reality of the situation. As leaders, we deal with difficult situations, and no matter how much you try to make your culture welcoming and positive, there's still going to be some outliers, but that does help you filter, right? That helps you filter through to say, this employee, if our values are teamwork, respect of our clients, collaboration, and you have an employee that comes on that cannot exemplify those, maybe they are disrespectful to your clients or they can't work in a team. I understand sometimes, we need people who can work solo. We need people who can work on a team, and sometimes people prefer to work solo. But if your culture is that of teamwork and they know that in their job, there's supposed to be a lot of collaboration, teamwork, and that is the culture that you're presenting, the values you're putting forth, and this person can't seem to, fall in line with your company's mission and values, that kind of helps you filter and really notice pretty quickly whether or not they're going to be a good fit for your organization. Now, I know we're getting into, probably about 25 minutes, going on 30 right now into this episode. So I just want to wrap up with a few strategic steps that you can take to improve your company culture. First off, knowing where you're going. What is your vision for the future? If your organization is just starting out, the first thing to do is really establish your mission, your values, and your vision. If you have an established organization and you've already done that some time ago, take another look and make sure that they're still relevant and that they're precise as possible. In either case, think of the process as laying the foundation for an awesome culture. Number 2, finding people who fit. The average cost per hire, this was put out by the Society for Human Resource Management, and the average cost per hire is $4,129, while the average time it takes to fill a position is 42 days. So I know we've all been there. Think about the times whenever you have taken on a new hire. You've spent that money. You've spent that time. Your time is money too. And they're not working out. It does happen. It happens a lot. It does. To prevent this, though, hire people who not only have the needed job skills, but also share your organization's vision and values, and will fortify them with a fresh, new perspective. Our next tip, number 3, help new employees fit in. I said this earlier. What does your onboarding look like, though? Really ask yourself, if you're a new employee coming to your company, you've never worked here before, you don't know Jane down the hall or Bob down the hall. Does your onboarding process do enough to welcome new hires into your company? Because learning about and having a positive experience with your company culture right away can help new employees bond with your organization and feel good about the decision that they made to work there. Our next tip, number 4, set the right example. Determination, empathy, integrity. When leaders embody their culture's positive values, the good example that they set trickles down to all the levels of the organization. And I spoke about this a while ago. There's so many ways that you can do this, but start with fostering transparency and trust. Encourage open communication between all levels of your organization and promote teamwork. Start there and see where it goes. Number 5, integrate your values into everyday activities. Your culture should be showcased everywhere. It should be the showplace where your values come to life and prove their worth, right? So you can do this by stressing the importance of your values during company meetings, making sure your external messages reflect your values, and of course, making value-based decisions for your company. Number 6, and again, we spoke about this earlier, but I'm reiterating it. We're doing that wrap up, right? Give rewards and recognition. Employees want to be recognized for great work and rewarded for it too. Recognition or reward system goes a long way to help employees see the value, the meaning, and the purpose of their work, and to know that their colleagues recognize their accomplishments as well. And of course, you want to, and this is going to be my last tip of the day, you want to keep up with the changes. So, it's April of 2024 right now. And an example that I'm going to use here is how far AI has come in the past probably 12 to 18 months. That's how fast things change. It starts with something small, and before you know it, it's grown into something huge. And so the world changes in countless ways. And there's no end in sight for that. The only consistent thing in life is inconsistency, right? So new industries rise, new processes disrupt proven ways of doing things. No organization is exempt from the effects of change. So as your organization and workforce change over time, your company culture must change too. That's our wrap up for today. I do want to thank you for listening. This is definitely one of our longer episodes. I could probably talk about this for another hour on the do's, the don'ts, and how they affect everything that you're doing, and even how much your company culture could be costing your organization. But that's more of a conversation for another day. So we're going to wrap it up. If you have any questions about anything that I've talked about today, please feel free to reach out to us at JER HR Group. Our HR consultants are amazing at helping to develop your mission and your values, to take a look at everything, talk to the employees, and really help you hone in on your company culture, what improvements you may need to make, and even what you're doing right. So thank you for joining me, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.